Hello YouTube, this is Newark Tower 1 here in my vehicle. Just thought I'd pop on here and post a video for all your rail fans here in Central Ohio that are most likely wondering where is a good place to rail fan here in the Licking County, Ohio area, and where not to go videotape a train or rail fan at. One of them being, one place that you should not videotape here on the Ohio Central Railroad in Newark, Ohio would be the Licking County Port Authority, because that is federal land, and that's one spot you're absolutely not allowed to videotape at all here in Licking County. That's one spot that I recommend you do not go rail fanning. That's there in the industrial park there in Heath. That's one location not to rail fan at, in Newark, Heath area. Being that it is a federal military base, a quasi-military base, that is used by Boeing, that's one place not to rail fan at here in Licking County. The next place up in COSHOCTON County that is not a good place to rail fan is the COSHOCTON Port Authority building, which is right next door to the Ohio Central Panhandle line that goes from Newark to COSHOCTON. That's another place not to rail fan. Now, places to rail fan at on the Ohio Central CNN, or not to rail fan at in Columbus, is right there at Stelzer Road area. That is still technically, or James Road area in Columbus is still technically a military installation ran by DCSC, which is the Defense Logistics Agency or administration that is under the government. It's a military base basically. That's another place not to rail fan at on the Ohio Central line. In between Newark and Columbus. Now, there is some good locations which I would recommend if you were to go out and rail fan on the Ohio Central, which one of them is downtown Pataskala. I've not yet filmed a train in downtown Pataskala. My goal is to actually film a train and actually upload it on YouTube because there's more horn in downtown Pataskala. Now, the reason why I say not to videotape in the Licking County Port Authority is simple. It's a military base. That is one spot not to rail fan a train at on the Ohio Central line. The reason is, a fellow YouTuber went down there and got herself and himself in serious trouble with the Heath Police Department. That area is cordoned off as a federal government building. One thing you must have to rail fan that area is you must have 3 things of identification. One of them being a star on your driver's license here in Ohio to walk on property. Now, when I mean walk on property, I'm not talking about walking on Port Authority property, but the land north of there, the adjacent land on Irvingwick Drive, where, as the Ohio Central crews call it, Ashland Road, which is right across the street from the Aerospace Drive. That area is concentrated and by federal employees that are from here in Licking County. A lot of the people that work there are federal government employees. Now that is the only main place you should not videotape at is if you're in the Heath, Ohio area, and you really want to go see a train, and you're on the Irvingwick Drive or 79 railroad crossing. do not videotape there, because you'll probably find out what federal prison looks like. I even, personally, my mom, which this is a long time ago, before 9/11, my mother used to drive down that road, called Ashland Road. That's where the Ohio Central HHL, Hebron Heath Locals Power, used to park down at, before CSX Transportation sold the Newark yard to Ohio Central when Ohio Central took over Newark. Now, 3 things about the Port Authority that you probably did not know is, one of them is that there's businesses, like big businesses. There's even a firearms sales building there on Licking County Port Authority property. That's one of the other reasons not to film in the Port Authority, is because of several issues relating to security. Now, those who have been on Facebook for quite some time who know that the Licking County Port Authority is a land developer. They develop land in the Licking County area, and they sell property. They're basically a realtor, if you will. Ashland Road is now going to be, from what I've heard, they're going to put a guard shack up on Ashland Road and Heath on the Ohio Central line, to prevent any trespassing in the area. That's one area. And just if you're wondering, if you're a resident here in Licking County and probably did not know, they do have this thing called open doors. I'm going to air quote that, open doors. That's where you get tours of the county buildings. I don't know if the Port Authority is under that, but you could possibly get a tour of the mouth of the Port Authority. And I'm not talking about this mouth that I'm talking through right now, but the entrance to the Port Authority for the Ohio Central. You could probably get a tour of that mouth, with certain credentials. Now, the other thing you must have, now here's a new state law that was just passed here in Ohio. If you are a rail fan, or if you're a railroad employee who's off duty and wants to go film a train, if you're a foamer, is what we call them. If you're a foamer and you want to film a train, and you are a former active duty military person or veteran, you could turn your DD-214 in and get some type of clearance to videotape and take a picture of a train in the Port Authority. Now, there is only certain locations in the Port Authority that are granted to be okay and would be acceptable. One of them being, if you're familiar with Newark, my viewers, my firefighters, shall I say, and you're familiar with a location, there is a good location on State Route 79 in Hebron to catch a train on video. Now, you're not going to get in trouble there, because that is part of a different entity that is part of a completely different governmental board. Still ran by the Port Authority, but that is one of the best locations. If you were really wanting a rail fan, that's one of the best locations to catch NHL. Or you could go to 30th Street Railroad Crossing and videotape the train, or the 21st Union. You could either go there. But I recommend, now, if you really want to stay out of trouble, and you are rail fanning the Newark, Ohio area, that's the main place to stay away from. This is just a public service announcement that if you do go down to the Licking County Port Authority and videotape a train, more than likely there's 3 things that could happen. You could either get arrested, ticketed, or you could be questioned by the police department in Heath. That area is a no-go for rail fanning. I have heard horror stories from back in 2020 of a rail fan that hangs out in the Heath, Ohio area, got himself in trouble for videotaping in the Port Authority property. Now, here's another place you could possibly catch a train in Zanesville on the ZVL run or the XSTONE. There's a building there that I recommend you do not pan your camera over to. Even though it's near the rail yard, do not pan your camera when you're videotaping over to the Muskingum County Port Authority building. That's another place that's in the Welcome Center of the Zanesville Welcome Center. That's the Welcome Center for Zanesville. Now, if you were really wanting to rail fan the COSHOCTON area, let's go back to COSHOCTON. That Port Authority, the railroads here going north and south, or technically east and west. Okay, the Port Authority building the property butts up right here to the railroad property there in COSHOCTON. That's one location I recommend you stay away from if you wanted to videotape. They're more lenient for videotaping on their property because they're not really like a quasi-military base, but that's one area you could videotape a train, possibly, depending on how good you are on property. Now, a bad place to videotape, like I said, in Columbus on the Ohio Central CNN line, is near the VA, Veterans Affairs Building. That's a bad place to videotape a train at, because you're technically on federal property, and more likely you'll go to federal prison for videotaping a train in the area. There was a YouTuber a long time ago who actually was up in the area of Columbus and got himself in serious trouble with the Columbus Division of Police, and he got himself in trouble with Homeland Security for videotaping a train there at the VA Center in Columbus. Those are the only locations I recommend not to videotape a train. If you wanted to really videotape a good sized train and you want to do the Ohio Central line, I'd recommend doing the CNN line, the Panhandle, Pan Sub East, the Hebron Branch, kind of off limits in air quotes, and there's some good places. Where I live, there's 2 crossings within my reach of I could hear a train from. So this is just a pro tip for rail fanning. If you're in the Newark, Ohio area and you want to go catch a train on video, there is one portion of the Keller Drive crossing I recommend you don't pan southeast from Keller Drive. Keller Drive here, railroad tracks here, the Port Authority's over there. Don't videotape there. This is just a word of advice. That's a pretty bad place to videotape a train at. Now you could face northwest or northeast and northwest and southwest, but you can't film a train facing southeast because that is technically the mouth of the Port Authority. And I'm not talking about this mouth I'm speaking of. I'm talking about the entrance to the Port Authority. So this is a pro tip for all y'all rail fans in the Newark, Ohio area. That rail fan, the Ohio Central, that is just a tip. Take it at face value, because I just don't want to see you guys get arrested for videotaping on Port Authority property, because that is like an automatic federal charge. And another thing you have to have on if you were a former law enforcement firefighter, paramedic, if you're a current firefighter, paramedic, or if you're a current public safety, anything in public safety, you should be fine to videotape in the Port Authority. But this is just a heads up for all y'all rail fans in the Newark, Ohio area. Do not videotape in the Lincoln County Port Authority if you're not into 3 classes of people, because I don't want to see you go to jail. So This video has been requested by several government entities in this Licking County area. Since they found out I'm a rail train guy, they wanted me to go ahead and post this video. So don't forget to hit like, subscribe for more content, favorite this video, and if you're in the rail fan community in Newark, this is just a training tool. I'm not bashing you guys. I'm not doing anything. I'm just trying to get you guys to realize those are the areas not to videotape in New York. Peace. Tower 1 out.